So this morning we kind of describe a little bit of establishing a practice in the morning, that some of the some idea, it is not a specific. Again, as I said, as one of the students asked this morning, sometimes it can look overwhelming. But again, it is all about what practice you connect and what practice you want to apply, such as the blessing, the speech, and all these mantras. For some people, they might not find as much connecting. So again, if there's something, you don't have to do it, something that you connect, that is, if you do that, there is some benefit, as you can read there, and all the benefits are there. But at the same time, so that it is, you just get some idea, but at the end, you have to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. What connects with you and what doesn't connect with you. And so those that does not connect with you at the moment, maybe you just leave aside at the moment. Maybe in the future, you might be able to connect. And when you connect, you can do that. But something that it doesn't connect you now, and you have some struggles, then you can just kind of leave aside, and you can try to focus on something that you connect and which is more beneficial to you. I think that is something I wanted to kind of clarify that. And then just because you don't do many of those practices that we described this morning, doesn't mean you are not going to be a good Buddhist practitioner. That doesn't define whether you are a good practitioner or not, whether you are a good Buddhist or not. Those are some of the main thing is to apply the teaching, the practice in our everyday life to become a better person than before, as we mentioned before, to become more compassionate, more kind, less frustration, less anger, trying to reduce some of the strong desires, too strong, uncontrolled desire, ignorance. That is the main thing, And those different practices are a way to help those to do that. And again, to do that, there are many different practices, So it is not just one practices. So anyway, then I think one of the things that I wanted to kind of, because for a lot of the people, they have full-time job. Sometimes they have families, full-time job. So it's hard to find them a lot of time to do practice. Of course, for some people, they have more time. Those who have more time, you can do the practice more frequently and more extensively. And those who have less time, at least, as I mentioned, at least 20 half-hour practice morning is going to be helpful and beneficial. It is at least you should be able to find a half-hour practices every day, consistent, as mentioned before. And then, we can try to apply practices all throughout our day, because there are a lot of things we do every day anyway. We eat, we drink, maybe 2 times, 3 meals or 2 meals, So again, when we eat, then again, we try to bring the practice into that, And again, there are many different practices that you can bring into that. One practice you can bring is, recollecting and remembering the kindness of all sentient beings so that we can enjoy these meals, even though there are some who contribute directly, and there are many others who contribute indirectly for our good health, for our meals that we are enjoying, for the drinks that we are enjoying, tea, coffee, water, whatever, there's a lot of other contributions. So through that reflection, contemplations, we try to generate sense of their kindness, feeling the kindness of others. And when we feel that kindness, then, it is easy for us to feel love and compassion back to them. And then it will also be easier to feel bodhicitta from, and so that is one thing, and it might take you just 2 minutes to do that, but it's by doing that you are not in formal meditation, but you are doing meditations. It seems like you are not doing a meditation, you are just eating, but you are taking a few moments to reflect, contemplate on that, and it is a meditation. So, the other things is, then again, we try to recollect the kindness of our gurus and the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and then try to make some offerings before we eat, before we drink to them, whether you recite the verses or you don't recite the verses, but if you try to recite the verses, there are many different verses. Again, whatever one feel more connected, there are many different verses, and the verses to make offering to the guru, making verses offering to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, verses to make offering to whatever deity that you connect, so again, you can use one of those, and making offering, and thereby again, and then eating and drinking it as a blessing from them, and in that way, again it takes you a few seconds, few minutes to do that, and again you are using that for practice. You have used that for your practice for meditations, so it is all about how to utilize every moment of our life in our practice, how to utilize, and because this is something we do every day, couple of times every day, and so if we can utilize that, so each time you eat, each time you drink, you immediately remember to do one of those practices or both of them, or as there is, and also we can think of also making offerings of generosity of the food by eating to all the different bacteria, cells that are in our body that depend on for their survival for those kind of food, and so again you can think, you are not just eating, but you are also at the same time feeding or practicing generosity to all others that are dependent on that. Again, there's a verses for that to remind you, but again, sometimes having those verses is helpful because it reminds us, but otherwise, whether you recite the verse or not, but definitely you try to contemplate and think and spend a few moments like that. So those are some of the practice that you can apply while you are eating, drinking, every time, So the time for you are eating, drinking is not being just worldly, but actually it becomes more spiritual virtues and practice. And then also we don't have to be so harsh on ourselves because I can't find a time. I'm unable to find time for the practice meditation because we have time for eating and drinking all the time. So why not use that time to practice? Why not use that for meditations? And so Mm. So that is one, again, we try to apply that, and and then while you are driving, while you are walking, while you are taking it in transportations, wherever, a lot of time, we have time, how much ever time it takes us to get wherever we need to get it, and again, every day we spend a lot of time driving or taking public transportations or walking, whatever, again, utilizing those time to contemplate, to recite some of the mantras, to recite some of the prayers, or to contemplate, meditate and contemplate. And you can equally do meditation, contemplation while you are walking, taking transportation. Maybe driving, you have to be a little more careful. While driving, you have to be a little more careful where you get in deep meditation that you lost the string and direction. So otherwise, yeah, like, for some time, sometimes people have commitment to do certain mantras and like that. You can do while you're driving, instead of feeling I can't find time. And then when you have time, you are able to spend more time on contemplation, meditations, But just to keep the commitment of those mantras, you can do while you are driving, So just for sake of commitment. So then so by doing that, then again, you're trying to do with a good intention, then again, the time you are spent there become meaningful virtues, and that will be same. We apply that same intentions, motivation to everything we do. Whether we are taking care of our family, whether we're cooking for our families, whether we are taking care of someone, whether it's our family, whether it's a pet. Instead of thinking is my responsible, instead of seeing is my compulsory to do that, it is just a job, another job, or going for a job, whatever job you are doing, thinking, oh, I have to go, feeling like to living, I have to go, instead of feeling that way. We think, the purpose of our life, as we generated the motivation this morning, is to help and benefit. To help benefit whatever we can help in this moment, but in long term, we want to help much more than what we are able to help now. Long term, we want to be able to free them from all their delusion, all their suffering, and lead them to enlightenment. But at the same time, while we are working to do that, whatever small help we can be, we try to help. And so by going to the whatever work that we need to go there, it is helping a lot of people. It's benefiting a lot of people. Whether it's a teacher, whether it's a nurse, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a essential who is driving, trucks, whatever, whatever job, or if you're creating a business that gives job to a lot of people, that feed a lot of people. So whatever you are doing is really immediately helping and benefiting a lot of people. So we always have to go with thinking, I'm going to job because I'm required to be there. Do you get it? Because I have to be there, but I'm going there so I can benefit a lot of people who get benefit from there. By just changing that, your attitude, doing the same thing you are doing every day, but just changing that little bit of attitude, little bit of intention, motivation, that makes huge difference. Whether that the time you spend become a just a non-virtuous or neutral, or it become a virtuous. So we can kind of transform it into the virtues, something positive. And also then you enjoy going there because you feel you are helping and benefiting some others. Instead of feeling I have to be there because I get the check, And if I didn't go, I will not get the check, That's one attitude we could have. And then, it's not inspiring. It's not inspiring. Going to job become a very, very tiring, stressful, because you don't see meaning in that. You don't see, except in getting the bill paid, getting the check, and to be able to pay the bill, you don't see there's better purpose in that. But if we just change, because it is helping a lot of people. We are, through your contribution, through your job, whatever job you are doing, you are helping some directly and some indirectly. And through that, benefiting. So we just have to remember, we just come to reflect, reconnect that, and do that. Then we will have a less stress of going to the job, because not only it pays you and your bill, but also your work is meaningful, beneficial, because it is benefiting many people, many families, directly, indirectly, in different ways, and so I think for me, when, like, for example, when I was studying in India, we have a lot of debate sessions, long times, morning 2 hours, evening 2-3 hours, 4 hours, and sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not interesting, sometimes. And you have to spend there 4 hours anyway, whether you like or not, you have to go there and spend 4 hours, part of the curriculum studies, And some days are more interesting because of the topic itself, because of the discussion itself. Some days, it doesn't really inspire, the discussions. It's not interesting. Maybe a certain time the topic is not so interesting, And, you might not be so inspired, You might not so inspired to go, But, one time, Lama Sopa Rinpoche came a long time ago, and he gave some teachings, advice to for Kopan monks who were studying there in Sera, And then he spoke about the importance of the motivations, trying to generate the right intention, motivations before you go to the ceremony, the pujas, right intention, motivation before you go to the classes, whether it is receiving the teachings, whether you are going to the debate itself to debate in a class among your classmates and others, And that kind of Rinpoche's, that teachings, advice, instructions kind of, kind of, what do you call, touch my heart or touch our heart, And so I try to apply as much as possible, trying to generate that intentions, motivations, good motivation, intention, both the motivation possible before you go to, every time before you go to the class, every time before you go to debate. And when I have that intentions, when I go to the ceremony, the pujas and class, I feel like I didn't waste the time, even though when the discussion is not interesting, Otherwise, I feel like I was wasting my time, 4 hours, 3 hours. What am I doing here? I could have done something useful, something meaningful, and it is not interesting here. So your mind started to get kind of that in that kind of states, But just by having that intention, because of that intention, I started to feel I'm not wasting. Just sitting there is a part of that practice, is part of that. And so that makes huge difference. Definitely, it makes huge difference to me when I was studying and spending so many hours, and especially when it wasn't interesting, when you are not so inspired, and having that intention shift your cultivating that kind of right intention, motivation, kind of shift your feeling about whole things, and your reactions, emotional reaction towards that, and so I think we can apply that everything. So especially a lot of things we do every day anyway, we have no choice, we have to do it. And why not make it more meaningful, enjoyable? And how can we make it more enjoyable? How can we make it more meaningful? It's just changing a little bit of our attitude, intention, motivation. That is all is required, Um, so again, these are part of establishing daily practice. Daily practice doesn't mean formal sitting and doing practice. Of course, there is formal sitting and practice that we described this morning a little bit. But more than that, I think sometimes it's more important to establish those kind of practice, which we do a lot of those things every day. We have to do that. Eating, drinking, going to walk, feeding your dogs, cats, in some cases, feeding your children, your families, cooking, all of that, we do it instead of feeling, oh, I wish I don't have to do it, or feeling kind of, I have to do more than him or her, all kind of things. Oh, by doing that, I'm helping him, I'm helping her, and the purpose of our practice is to help and benefit others. The bodhicitta, it is the practice of bodhicitta. The purpose of practicing bodhicitta is to be help and benefit to others. And of course, we wish to be able to help and benefit all sentient beings. We want to do that, but we have to start somewhere. And this is the one that I can start with, where I'm in at the moment in the karmic connections, direct connections. If I cannot help this persons, thinking that I'm going to help all sentient beings is just a, joke, or, kind of almost like deceiving ourselves, cheating ourselves. The very person who is in front of us, whether in the house, whether it's in our workplace, whether we come into a direct connection in our different part of our life, if we struggle to be help and benefit to them, then this idea of trying to help and benefit everyone is abstract, vague, And so thinking, this is my practice. This is my practice. To be able to be benefit to all, I have to start from here. I have to start from here. So trying to help benefit your family, your neighbors, your workplace, wherever, sometime. And a lot of things we are doing it, but we just do it is without any kind of feeling, It's just like a machine, We become like machines, We have time and I just go and do this and this and that without any kind of, so bringing the feeling into it, bringing the feeling into it to be benefit, because it is a benefiting. Whether you think or not, is a benefiting, but if you bring that, then it is, you are practicing and you are cultivating your love, compassion, concern, care, all of that more and more. And it's like watering your love and seed of your love and compassion is watering that each time we do that. each time we think about that, you know. Another thing maybe I can share, you know. I enjoy walking, you know, just neighbors, you know. Of course, sometimes when I like to hike, but of course, you know, I don't drive, and also you can't hike every day, every week, you know. But I like to take a walk, you know, most time, even it's just by the neighborhoods, you know. So I spend quite a bit of time walking, you know. But because I don't do any other kind of form of exercise, anything, you know, it's to kind of keep yourself a little bit kind of healthy as well. Also, I enjoy that too, you know. And I started doing contemplations, reflections while I'm walking. And sometimes I find, you know, the contemplation, the reflection, meditation I do while I'm walking, sometimes even more powerful than when I'm sitting for some reason. Sometimes the kind of make, you know, so that is because anyway I'm doing walking, spending time there, whether it's half hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever, you know. So why not utilize that, you know, to make it something spiritual, virtuous, meaningful. And so I think that could be, we could apply that to everything. We could apply that to everything that we do in every day. And I think when you do that, I think we are going to have more progress in our path when we integrate that in our everyday life, in every aspect of our life. And not just narrow our practice on the formal cushions, you know, but bringing the practice in our everyday life, in everything we do. And then you are practicing 24 hours, 12 hours, you know, all the time. I feel that is one of the important factors. And then, of course, like in certain sutras, and there are many sutras where a lot of Kadamba teachings, there are many different ways of thinking differently for whatever you are doing, when you are closing the door, when you're opening the door, when you're going up the stairs, when you are going down the stairs, when you are hiking up and down, you know. But we don't need to go all of those details. It is the idea is that you can bring the practice into that whatever we are doing in that moment, relating that with some practice, particular practice, you know. And so that is the key. And then at the end, you know, before we go to the bed, it is good to have another formal practice sessions. Again, it can, if we find difficult to find a lot of time, at least 10, 15, 20 minutes, you know. So then we try to reflect on the day, you know. This morning, we started with good intention motivations. So before we go to bed, we spend few times, you know. Again, it depends on everyone, you know, whether you do before dinner or you do after dinner. The best might be before you are able to dinner, you know. Once you dinner, then your body, you know, you feel a little bit kind of heavy, lazy, and you want to watch the TV, something news or some things, you know. The time can go very fast, you know. So maybe before that might be better. I think you have to find a time where it is more suitable, where you can keep consistency, you know. You just have to find in the evening, one of the evenings, you know. within your schedules, within your everyday things. If I try to manage 15, 20 minutes of practice in the evening, where I can manage that more stable, more consistent, which time will be the best? You choose one of those times, and then, it could be before dinner, it could be later dinner, it could be just before you go to bed. It depends on every different people's and different environment, different conditions. So you choose that, and then, the point is, again, having that consistent is important. But again, sometimes even we try to be consistent, sometimes we might have to miss the sessions for whatever reasons. That doesn't mean I missed yesterday, so I should miss today. Sometimes our mind can have an excuse, isn't it? I didn't yesterday, so what make difference? What will make a huge difference even I didn't do today? That is same, that kind of attitude comes in our life in so many different ways, in every way, Someone who has been trying to give some yoga exercise continuously, they miss one day, or going to gyms, and they think, well, I missed yesterday, I could miss today. And tomorrow, and I already made 2 days, I could miss today. And then that is how you stop. And sometimes I find that even with others, like people who are trying to become a vegetarians or vegans, whatever, by mistake, whatever, they eat something and then they think, oh, I broke it, so now I can eat it. Well, whether by mistake, whatever you eat, still you can continue from tomorrow. By accident, for whatever reasons, or maybe because of your health, you had to eat some things. Either it's for days, weeks, months, a year. Once that is taken care, you can continue that again to do that, or whether someone is having a problem, someone who is trying to stop drinking or smoking or whatever, they are able to be successful a while, and then they break one day. And then once they break, then they know, I already broke it, so therefore I continue to drink it or I continue to smoke it, Instead of saying, oh, I broke yesterday, but I can continue from stopping today. Do you get it what I mean? We have that kind of, once we break that consistency, when we want to have that consistent one we break, then we can, our mind kind of, come with that kind of excuse. And so that just came in my thoughts. So I just wanted to kind of remind, talking about consistency. And when we break that rhythm and consistent for a day or two or week for whatever reasons, it just doesn't mean that we should stop doing that. We continue to do again. So evening, so then we try to reflect. So in the evening, we try to reflect of the day, This morning, I try to generate a good intention, motivation. How did my day go? How did my day go? Did my day go more positive, more virtuous, more according to what I intended and motivated this morning? Or did it go, opposite, Morning, I want to be kind, and during the day, I lost my mind, became very frustrated, very impatient, very upset, angry. And then I started just yelling at others, saying bad things to others, criticizing others, having bad thoughts, negative thoughts, So we try to contemplate our day in terms of our physical behavior, our speech, in terms of our mental attitude, the mental state, and then if we find, well, today I did quite well, I didn't lose my mind. I didn't become too frustrated, impatient, upset, angry, I didn't kind of become too harsh with my speech to anyone. I didn't lie. I didn't engage in anything divisive speech and so on, or I didn't have ill will feelings, so much such anger, wrong views, too much strong desire and so forth, and like that, just to give some example. And then rejoice, oh, today went quite well. Rejoicing about it, feeling good about it, not getting attached to it, and not being proud about it, but being happy with that. Being happy with that. Rejoicing and being happy when we do something good, rejoicing and being happy is important. Is like a refreshing, is like a refreshing. And also by rejoicing to your own good things, your own virtues, also your virtues increase from the Dharma point of view. It increases, it multiplies through the practice of the rejoicing. And I feel rejoicing play a huge role, positive role nowadays in I think one of the things that we see in our modern world, with all these negative media informations, what we see in the world, how people are nasty with each other, how people are not kind with each other. It's not because the majority of people are unkind and nasty, but there are a few of them. And the media repeat that again and again, and in our mind, it feels like overwhelmed by, as though the whole is like, the whole world is like that. The whole humanity is like that in our mind. And so our mind become very depressed, very negative, very low, hopeless, all of that. A lot of people feel that. About others as well as about oneself, because we have our own mistake. We have our own shortcomings. And those, whatever mistake, whatever shortcoming that we might have, those come easily. And it is more fresh and remind in our mind very strongly. Good things, whether it's done by others or oneself, we forget easily. Whether it's a good experience or whether something positive we did, is more naturally we forget more than. And so when we rejoice it, we kind of keep it alive. Do you get it? When you rejoice it, we are actually, it is a way to keep alive. When you have positive thought, we rejoice about that. So it refresh that positiveness in what we had, and positive, whether it's about us, whether it's about others. And then that balance our emotion and mind in seven, even when there is bad things happening, because we also see the good things. And so your mind is more balanced, your mind doesn't become so low and down immediately. So even from that perspective, just psychological point of view, I think rejoicing is important, because we don't kind of rejoice enough to the virtues of others and virtues of ourselves. And so rejoicing, whatever virtues, good things that we did throughout the day, we rejoice it, and then make a strong kind of determinations that we will continue to try to be as positive, as virtuous as possible, continually, next day, next week, next month, next year, throughout the life, So making that kind of strong determination, not only that, but to continue to do that. And when we look back, then we recognize, well, I didn't want to hurt someone, but I did hurt today someone, because I was not mindful, or my delusion was too strong, due to certain cause and conditions, the delusion too strong. I couldn't control my anger. I couldn't control my frustrations. I couldn't control my impatience. And because of that, not only I suffer, but I also said something bad to others. I show some kind of reactions, and that harm someone else. you know. So that is just one example. But whatever, negative thoughts we have throughout the day, whatever non-virtuous speech we might have used, whatever unwholesome physical expressions, reactions that we might have done, recognizing that, acknowledging that was not positive, that was not helpful, that was not good, acknowledging that was a mistake, that was unhealthy, and then, regretting and remorsing it, regretting and remorsing it. And then, with that regret, remorse, and then we make a strong determinations that we will not engage into such mistake again. At least we can try not to make same mistake again in the future. We might not be successful all the time, even when we try, It doesn't mean when we try, we are always going to be successful, But the point is, we always try to be better. We will always try to not make a mistake. Despite making such determinations, despite trying all our best, still sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we still engage into those behavior, actions, attitude. But that is part of learning. That is part of the growing. That is part of the practice. But the point is trying our best, giving our best as much as possible all the time. And then through that, then we'll try to do the purification practice. Okay, purification practice. One of the advice the Buddha gave is, or the method that he gave is, he said we have to be mindful all the time. Through mindfulness, we have to watch our actions, our speech, our mind all the time, and try not to have negative thoughts, and not to engage in negative speech and actions, trying all our best. Okay, but what about all the negative things that we did in the past? Going forward in the future, we can try not to do that. Going forward in the future, we can try our best not to do that. But what about due to ignorance, due to not knowing, or even when knowing, sometimes due to not being mindful, due to delusion being too strong, sometimes we have did a lot of, engaged in a lot of unwholesome actions, behavior, non-virtuous actions. What to do with that? And then Buddha, with his great compassion, he show a practice to purify them. They can be purified. They can be purified. There is a certain practice to purify that for all the things that we did in the past. And so that is what we try to do. So we try to recollect the day, and then this week, this month, this year, this whole life, and of course from the past we might not remember, but we might can kind of say, in general, whatever negative karma that I've created in the past, knowingly, unknowingly, either out of attachment, either out of anger, or either out of ignorance, or whether two of them, whether through all of them, whatever we have created, either we have created negative karma in relation to holy object, or in relation to the sentient beings, whatever we have not created, whether we remember or not, that we try to purify them. We're creating all of them and trying to purify them. But those which can remember, we try to recollect and remember them. Okay. One of the problem is that, also we have to be careful when we're trying to reflect, contemplate all the mistake, all the non-virtues we have created us, that it doesn't lead you to become too depressing or head, kind of, that it doesn't become becoming hateful to yourself. Do you get it? Hating yourself for what you have done. It sometimes it can, for certain individual, if you don't use the right techniques and all of that, sometimes it can be, and that is where rejoicing is important. So then you can encounter that with the rejoicing, Do you get it? Because of you having a rejoicing, all the good things and virtues thought you have, so then you have also access to that. So you are not overwhelmed. Well, you say, I was bad in some way, but also I wasn't as bad. Also, I have all these good thoughts, all these positive thoughts. Also, I have done all good things, and so that can help to balance that. But if you don't have that, then it feels like you are just thinking about all your negativities. Do you get it? And when you think about all your negativity, then it can be overwhelming. And that is not healthy and helpful when you become overwhelmed by that kind of feelings. So that is where another thing that we have to be more conscious, more aware of that. And so when you see in going that direction, then maybe you might have to change your practice a little bit. You might need some more discussions from your Sangha members or from teachers. You might want to get some instructions, when you start to feel that, or you might have to change the practice a little bit. So those are again some of the kind of, some small kind of things that can be helpful or not helpful, so small things can because also, so in terms of the purifications, there are so many different practices of purifications. Again, hopefully it doesn't become overwhelming again. We just have to find something that works for you, and you can work with that. At the very beginning, you can study, learn those different techniques, different practices, and then you can see what practice is more suitable for yourself. Generally, whatever purification you do, any different form of purifications, there are many different practice or form of purification. Whatever you do, the main point is there need to be 4 conditions, what we call 4 opponent power. That is the important. You have to have those 4 opponent power in whatever practice, form of purification practice you do. Whether you do prostration through 35 Buddhas, whether you do versatile purification by reciting mantra and visualizations, whether you do, meditation on emptiness of the negative karma itself, the objects, the practice, the purification itself, the subject, you who is doing purifications. So whether you do meditation on emptiness or all of that as a way of purifications, or whether you recite certain sutras that are good for purification, Diamond Cutter Sutras, and there are some others sutras to purify, So whether you are reciting those sutras, or whether as a purification, whether you are creating a holy objects, whether it's a Buddha statue or stupas, or printing a Dharma books, whatever, as a way of purifications, that is one of another of. So there are, whatever those different form of purification you do, to the purification to become effective, powerful purification, 4 conditions have to come together, and in all of those different practices you do. And so 4 opening powers are the opening power of regret. That is the first one. Second one is the opening power of resolutions, and then opening power of reliance or objects, and then opening power of antidotes. So those four are the conditions that it need to be there. Regardless of whatever different purification you choose to do, in all of them, those four opening power, the condition has to be there. And regret or remorse, is, acknowledging something that you did was not helpful. It was not meaningful. It was not beneficial. So then you don't want, unless you see it a mistake, something, then you wouldn't want to change. The first step in changing is to acknowledge the mistake. If you don't see there is anything wrong with that, why would you try to change it? But when you see, oh, that was not helpful, that was not meaningful, that was not healthy, it was harmful, that is the first step. Regret is the first step for the change. It's like the acknowledging. When you have a problem, acknowledging I have a problem. Then you will ask for the help, or you will look for the help. When you are not aware, or even you don't acknowledge I have a mistake, then you will not look for help. Even someone offer the help, you will not receive, you will not be receptive to it, because you think, why? I don't need help. I have no problem. Even someone offer the help, you will say, I don't need it, because I don't have any problem. So first step come with that. Acknowledgement, awareness of that. That is what the regret does. That is the function of that regret. We understand and be aware. And second things, then the power of resolutions is where the change comes. So because you are aware, you notice that it was something unhealthy, unhelpful, unwholesome. Now you don't want to do that. So you don't want to behave same way. You don't want to act some way. You don't want to repeat that again. Then the resolution is the where the change comes. Through that, the changes. So in terms of the resolutions, they are different according to a few different teachers or commentary. They are slightly different way when we develop that resolution or the promise or determination. In some cases, you can see, is saying, I will try all my best not to repeat it. At least within these 24 hours, within 12 hours, particularly within this, 1 hour, particularly in few seconds, few minutes, I will try all my best. Or in some, those who are easy, I will try my best. Those who are more difficult, I will try my best. So there is kind of trying. But then there are some others, commentaries and teachers, where they says, when you actually do purification, when you have to make a strong determination, I will never do it. It's not about, I will try for 24 hours, or 12 hours, or 6 hours, but I will never do it. Even though maybe in deep down, you might think, oh, I will be repeating that because we are not perfect. But in that moment, you make determinations, I will really not repeat it again. you know. So there are two different approach, you know, according to different teachers. And you can see what approach is more suitable for yourself, you know, what is more suitable for yourself. And depending on that, we can, that is one thing I like about, you know, the Dharma is not so fixed, rigid, you know. There are so many different approaches, and that we can take the approach that is more suitable for ourselves. And that is what I like about all these options, selections too, you know, so that it's not like one, whether you like it or not, this is the only way. Whether you connect with that or not, this is the only way. You know, it's not only one way, you know. And so that is the beauty of the Dharma. And I think that is also in this practice, as I mentioned, they have slightly different approach, and we can see which approach is more suitable for us. And then in terms of the power, dependent opponent power of the reliance of the objects is you know, taking refuge and generating bodhicitta mind. One way of taking, when we say it's objects, is that when we do the purifications, then we take the Buddha Dhamma Sangha as a witness for our, you know, our disclosing our mistakes, you know, saying you are the witness, you know, now I declare all my negativities, all the mistakes that I have done, I expose to you, and, you know, please help me to transform. And so it is kind of the objects as the object for our disclosure of our negative karma, our negative actions, and their blessings, their inspirations, their help to purify, you know. And then there is reliance. Sometimes it is called reliance, and it is reliance is I think in Paponga Rinpoche's writing, you know, he gave that example. If my house floor is a weight and I didn't pay attention and I slip, okay, I slip and bang my back, or maybe even my head, you know. So I slipped on the floor, okay? So now I need to get up. To get up, I have to rely on the same floor that I slipped, you know, put my hand to the floor to get up. So you rely on the same objects to get up. The same object that you slip, so you rely on the same object to get up. Same way, when we create negative karma, non-virtuous actions, we create either in relation to holy objects or ordinary objects like sentient beings. Two of those objects. Sometimes we create negative karma in relation to the holy objects, such as Buddha Dhamma Sanghas, or sometimes we create negative karma in relation to sentient beings. So when you purify, we rely on the same objects to purify. And so we rely same object, that is the holy objects, the three jewels, and the sentient beings. We rely on that same objects for purifications. And so that is why sometimes it is called the opponent power reliance. because we rely on the same objects. The very object we created negative karma, we rely on the same objects to purify. So to purify all the negative karma that we have created in relation to the holy objects, such as Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, then we take refuge. In purifying the negative karma that we are creating in the sentient beings, we generate bodhicitta mind to all sentient beings. So by taking refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, we purify all the negative karma. We try to purify negative karma by relying on the same object that we have created. And then whatever negative karma we have created in relation to sentient beings, to purify, we rely on same object to generate bodhicitta mind, to purify the negative karma we create in relation to them. So that is where refuge and bodhicitta comes as a part of the object of reliance. So those are the three conditions, and the last conditions is the open-end power of antidote. So, it is said, together with all the three conditions, then as a way of purifications, whatever virtues you engage into, that become the open-end power of the antidotes, okay? As a purifications, you can make a generosity, for example, charity and generosity to individual or organization that need help. That act of generosity, the virtues, can become the power of antidotes. Or as a antidote, you can, do in any of the other meditations, loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, that can be antidote, the power of antidotes, So any virtues that you engage into is the power of antidote on the foundation of three other conditions. But in certain sutras, Buddha gave certain specific purification practices. And from them, one of the great Indian master, later Indian master, Shantideva, in one of his writing, Labdi is the contenem of his training. One of his writing, he has guides both a way of life, and then another writing that he already wrote before that. And in that he give a lot of quotations from the sutras, and by taking that, then he 6 different particular practices for purification that he found in different sutras, and that is what mostly in general, that is what we use most time, so the practice in relation to by reciting the 35 Buddha's names, then you're doing the homage, frustrations, bowing, that is one of the practice. But again, when you do the practice, all other condition has to be there. Or we do Vajrasattva purifications, that we visualize the Vajrasattvas and then recite the mantras of the Vajrasattvas, whether it's a long mantra or whether it's short mantras, and then with certain visualization, and then with the other 3 conditions together, then that become a purification. Those 2 are most common purification and practice that is recommended in all the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, all 4 Tibetan Buddhist traditions, which all are based in Nalanda traditions. Then again, some other example I already gave before, So anyway, we try to do that purification practice, try to do that purification practice. For all the negative karma actions, negative non-virtuous action we might have created, so that we try to do purifications in that. And then at the end, you do the dedications. As I mentioned before, then you can try to do a little bit more extensive dedications. Morning, you do the extensive motivations, and you can do short dedications. In the evening, you can do a short motivations and then longer dedications. So the end. So whatever virtues, whatever positive karma, whatever we might have created through our practice throughout the day, whether it's a formal practice or whether it's non-formal practice, whatever virtues, whatever positive karma, whatever merit we might have created by all the three times the Buddha, Bodhisattva, and ourselves, and all the sentient beings and ourselves, then you dedicate more extensively. You can dedicate to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. You can dedicate, for all who are sick, for everyone who is not feeling well, physically, emotionally, mentally, whoever are having those illness, may they all be cured from those illness as quick as possible. Those who are having obstacles, anyone who is having obstacles, may they all be free from the obstacles and the cause of all the obstacles. May all their obstacles be pacified. May all sentient beings who have passed away, whoever, of course, if you have certain individuals that you want to remember, you can remember in that, those who are sick, those who have obstacles, and those who have passed away, but including all sentient beings who have passed away, anyone who has passed away, wherever they are, may they be free from all their pain, suffering, cause of suffering. May they have a perfect human life, meet the Dharma from the young age, actualize the Dharma within their mind and achieve enlightenment. So you dedicate for that, and then you can dedicate, for oneself and all sentient beings to be able to cultivate the Bodhisattva mind, and those who have already actualized, not to diminish, but increase in more and more. And especially maybe we might, as Lama Sopa Rinpoche advised, and thus, maybe we might even want to dedicate especially the leaders, who has a strong impact on the lot of people, for them to generate the Bodhisattva mind. Because if they can generate the Bodhisattva mind, then they will engage in the less destructive policies and behavior and actions, So all sentient beings to cultivate, but especially them, and oneself. And then, dedicating the wisdom realizing the emptiness to be again actualized within the mind system of oneself and all sentient beings. And those who have already actualized, not to diminish, but increase and increase more and more. And for a Vajrayana practitioner, then again, dedicating to 2 stages of the path, the completion, the generation completion stages to cultivate it within the mind stream, and those who have already cultivated, not to diminish, but increase more and more, So you can do that kind of more extensively. And then we dedicate for the Dharma to flourish and to be cultivated within the mind stream of all sentient beings. We dedicate for our gurus, all the holy beings to have a long, healthy life, and to be under their care and guidance in this life, in the intermediate stage, and in all the future life until we achieve enlightenment, and then may we be able to please them all the time by following their advice, instruction, and practicing. That is the one, by practicing, by applying into the practice. So, so those are some of the, this is what we mean by kind of more extensive dedications, or much more broader, for many different. So we can do more extensive dedication, and then we can, as Lama Sopa Rinpoche always, of course, it is also said in many other teachings and practice, and Rinpoche, Lama Sopa Rinpoche encourage to dedicate dedication sealed by the emptiness. So That means, due to all the virtues, for example, just to give an example, which is empty from its own side, may I, which is empty from its own side, achieve enlightenment, which is empty from its own side, for the benefit of all sentient beings, which is empty from its own side. So we try to do that. So that is more or less kind of some example of extensive dedications. So it could be 5 to 10 minutes, if you take time. And then again, we go to the bed next time, whether you are going to bed, whether you are going to be watching a TV, whether you are going to be reading a book or listening some other things, whatever, again, trying to generate the motivations. I can refresh that motivations, again, in order to be the best benefit and to others, I have to practice the Dharma, work in my mind, and in order to practice the Dharma, then, I need to sleep. Therefore, to be healthy, I need to go to sleep. Or for that, I need more, more awareness, more wisdom. Therefore, I'm going to read whatever you are reading. Or, sometime in order to be more benefit, I know sometimes knowing the situation can help for our more broadening of our understanding. So listening to the news, whatever, so again, connecting whatever we're doing with that, and then we go to the bed. Yeah. And I know we are going to do the practice, but we might be able to do short practice of the purification. Okay. Again, like for example, taking refuge, the practice that you have, is a little bit kind of more extensive refuge, And sometimes people might be even, it's a long, even be confused, what is Daga, like in mantra yogas, and heroines, all of that, This is just one example, You can make it simplify. I go refuge to Buddha Dhamma Sangha. That can be just fine too. I go refuge to the Guru Buddha Dhamma Sangha. I go refuge to the Guru Yidam Buddha Dhamma Sangha, or I go refuge to Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So those are all different options. And, so again, you shouldn't be so, overwhelmed and confused. This is long and all this, what all this means and all of that, this is just one example of that, okay? So maybe we could do the, maybe do you want to share? Maybe that might be more easier than reading ourselves. If you can. No, we go for the first, the power of the dependence, taking refuge. Yeah. So I think, I don't want to go too details because also we don't have time. And even though, it will be more beneficial, helpful if I explain each of those words and all of that, but I think we don't at the moment, so we don't have the time. So the first thing is, again, just try to relax your mind by watching the breath for a few moments. Then we try to generate a good intention, motivations. By, for example, think the purpose of my life is to be benefit and help to all sentient beings as much as possible. And to be the best benefit to all sentient beings, I have to achieve my highest potential, fully awakened state. And in order to actualize that fully enlightened state, I need to engage in the path and cultivate all these realizations on the path. And for the success of the practice and on the path, we need to purify all the negative karma, all the delusion, all the obscurations. For that very reasons that I'm going to engage into this purification practice. Then in the space, you can visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, who is inseparable from our root guru, and then surrounded by, all the other Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Daga, Dagini, hero, heroine, all the Dhamma protectors. So you can just feel they all are present there. And then try to recollect some of their enlightened qualities. Physical enlightened qualities, enlightened speech qualities, and enlightened mind qualities. And try to generate some certain level of trust, faith, confidence. Okay, so then we can we have can we go to the power of the dependence, the taking refuge? Okay, so we just recite one time. I forever take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I take refuge in all three vehicles, in the Dargas and Daginis of the secret mantra yogas, in the hero, heroine, the god and goddess, and in the Bodhisattvas, 10 bhumis. And for most of all, I take refuge in my Holy Guru. So you can visualize light nectars flowing from all the refuge field, cleansing and purifying all our negative karma, all our afflictive emotions, obscuration completely, and receiving all their blessing of enlightened body, speech, and mind. Okay, then next, maybe, yeah. So maybe I'm going to read not the definition, but down one, almost every. So while I read it, you try to feel it. You don't have to read it, but you just try to follow and feel it as I read it, as much as you can possible. And sometimes it might feel a little bit too strong, but don't worry, Almost every action I do 24 hours a day is motivated by worldly concerns, attachment to the comfort of this life. It is like this from the birth to the death in this life. And has been like that from the beginningless rebirth. So really try to feel the words as much as possible. Nearly every action I have ever created has been non-virtuous. The cause of suffering. Not only that, but continuously, I have also been breaking my Pratimoksha, Bodhisattva's tantric vows. Worst of all, I have created heaviest negative karma in relation to my virtuous friend, getting angry at them, generating wrong views, having non-devotional thoughts towards them, having their holy body and harming their holy body and disobeying their advices. Having those negative imprint on my mental continuum is unbearable. It's like carrying full of poisons in our body. It is as if I have swallowed a lethal poisons. I must practice the antidote right away and purify all this negative karma immediately without any second delay. So try to generate a strong feeling of urgency and regret. Like if you have food poisoning, you will regret having eaten the food. Similarly, we have swallowed the cause of suffering. And then, why we need to purify immediately without any second delay. Again, try to feel the word as much as possible. Many people of my age or younger have died. It's a miracle that I'm still alive and have this incredible opportunity to purify my negative karma now. Because many of those who have died, they didn't have that opportunity. Death is certain, but its time is most uncertain. Death will come one day, but we do not know when it is going to come. If I were to die right now, I would definitely be born in lower realms, or most likely to be born in lower realms, because of so much negative karma, so strong. Because I could not practice Dharma there, practicing Dharma in the lower realms is very difficult. I would remain in lower realms for countless eons. Become most difficult to get out of there. Therefore, how unbelievably fortunate I am to be able to purify my negative karma right now. without even a second delay by practicing Vajrasattva meditations, recitations. So try to feel gratitude, appreciation to have this opportunity to do the purification practice. So lucky, so fortunate. Then generating bodhicitta. Okay, again, try to feel the word as much as possible. But I'm not practicing this Vajrasattva purification for myself alone. The purpose of my life is to release all hell beings, pretas, animals, humans, asuras, suras, and intermediate state beings from all their suffering and its causes, and lead them to unsurprised enlightenment, the ultimate happiness. In order to do this, I must first reach enlightenment myself. Therefore, I must purify all my negative karma immediately by practicing Vajrasattva meditation, recitation. So then again, visualizations. No. So from the heart of the Buddha Shakyamuni that we have visualized, Vajrasattva arises. Vajrasattva arises. So, first above the crown of my head, seated upon lotus and moon seat, are Vajrasattva father and mother. Come from the heart of Buddha Shakyamuni, and then you, in front of you, above your crown. Their bodies are white. Each one has one face and two arms. He holds the dorje and the bell. She a curved knife and skull cup. They are embracing each other. The father is adorned with 6 mudras, the mother with 5. He sits in a vasta posture, she in the lotus. And then try to feel, Vajrasattva is my root guru. No, inseparable, is my own root guru in the form of Vajrasattva here. Father and mother. The holy mind of all the Buddhas, the Dharmakaya, in which our root guru is the Dharmakaya. Who out of his unbearable compassion, which embraced me and all sentient beings, appeared in this form to purify me and all sentient beings. Then on the moon disk, at the Vajrasattva heart, stand a Hung syllable. So again, encircled by garlands of 100 syllables, the Vajrasattva 100 syllables, all standing up and crystal clear. And again, as we mentioned, all of them are actually exalted wisdom, enlightened wisdom in the form of those syllables and garlands mantras. A powerful stream of white nectar flow from the Hung and the mantra of garlands, and I'm cleansed of all sickness, spirit harm, negative karma, and obscurations. So while we try to keep that visualizations, I think we can try to do the long one 7 times, and then we do the short one. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatita Tito Meva Sudokaya Meva Subokaya me baba, Anurado me baba, Sawa Siddhi me baba, Sawa Kama Sudha me Siddham Shiam Kuro, Bhagavan Sawa Tadagada, Vajrama me, Vajrabhava Ma Samaya Sarva Ahom Pe, Om Vajrasada Samaya, Manubalaya, Vajrasadvatena Padita, Tito me baba, Sudokan, Subokaya me baba, Anurado me baba, Sawa Siddhi me baba, Sawa Kama Sudha me Siddham Shiam Kuro, Aho Bhagavan Savatadagada Vajramame Vajrabhava Ma Samaya Sarva Ahom Be Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattvateno Patita Tidome Bhava Sudokaya Meva Subokaya Meva Anuradu Meva Savasiti Meva Savakama Sudame Siddham Shiam Kuro Bhagavan Savatadagada Vajramame Vajrabhava Ma Samaya Sarva Ahom Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattvateno Patita Tidumeva, Sudokaya Meva, Subokaya Meva, Anurada Meva, Savasidi Meva, Savakama Sudame, Siddhashakuro, Ao Bhagavan Savatadagada, Vatamame Muda, Vajabha Mahasama Sato Ao, Om Vajasada Samaya, Manubalaya, Vajasada Tinapatita, Tidumeva, Sudokaya Meva, Subokaya Meva, Anurada Meva, Savasidi Meva, Savakama Sudame, Siddhashakuro, Ao Bhagavan Savatadagada, Vatamame Muda, Vajabha Mahasama Sato Ao, Om Vajasada Samaya, Manubalaya, Vajasada Tinapadida, Tidome Bhava, Sudokaya Meva, Subokaya Meva, Anuradu Meva, Savasidi Meva, Savakama Sudame, Siddhashya Puro, Bhagavan Savatadagada, Vajamama Buddha, Padava, Mahasama Sato, Om Vajasada Samaya, Manubalaya, Vajasada Tinapadida, Tidome Bhava, Sudokaya Meva, Subokaya, Anuradu Meva, Savasidi Meva, Savakama Sudame, Siddhashya Puro, Savatadagada, Vajamama Buddha, Padava, Mahasama Sato Ahom. So visualize total convictions, all our sickness, spirit harm, all the negative karma, all the delusions have been completely cleansed, purified, like taking a shower. When you take shower, all the dirts are completely cleansed and purified. And especially, if we have if we can recollect any kind of strong negative karma that we have created, whatever that is, especially that has been completely cleansed and purified without even trace of that. Om Vajasadu, 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 Om Vajasadu. Om Vajasadu, Om Vajasadu. So you can visualize all your negative karma, delusion, obscuring, completely purify your whole body, being crystal clear, without even a trace of any negativities. And then receiving all the blessings of the Vasudhava, Father and Mother, holy body, speech and mind. Whole our body filled with all these realizations. Okay, then next one. So then, again, I will recite. Again, you try to feel it as much as possible. From the crown on my head, the Guru Vasudhava says, son of the race, or daughter of the race, all your negativities, obscurations, and broken and damaged plates have been completely purified. So try to generate a strong faith that they are being completely purified, just as the Guru Vasudhava said. Not even trace of them. Okay, so then next, the power reframing. Again, I will read it. Again, you try to feel it from your heart. Before Guru Vasudhava, I vow never again to commit those negative actions from which I can easily abstain, and not commit for a day, an hour, or at least few seconds, those negative actions from which I find it difficult to abstain. Then Guru Vasudeva extremely pleased with your pledge, and the Vasudeva father and mother melt into the light. Also, we can visualize the refuge field also dissolve into that light. And that light dissolve into you. And your own subtle body, speech, and mind become inseparable and oneness with the Guru Vasudeva's holy body, speech, and mind. So then we do the dedications. That one we can recite together. In emptiness, there is no I, creator of negative karma. There is no actions of creating negative karma. There is no negative karma created. So try to place your mind into emptiness of the action of creating the negative karma itself. And the creator of the karma. All of them are empty from its own side. Nothing exists from its own side. They all are merely leveled by the thoughts and the mind. Okay, so then we do the rest of the dedications. Due to all the merits of these 3 times collected by me, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and all other sentient beings, which appear to be real from there, but which is empty. May the I, which appear to be real, but which is empty, achieve Guru Vasattva enlightenment, which appear to be real, but is empty, and lead all sentient beings who appear to be real, but are totally empty, to that enlightenment, which appear to be real, but is empty by myself alone, which appear to be real, but is also totally empty, non-existent from there. May the precious Bodhicitta, the source of all happiness and success for myself and all other sentient beings, be generated within my own mind and in the mind of all sentient beings without even a second delay. And may that which has been generated be increased. May I and all sentient beings have Lama Tsongkhapa as our direct Guru in all our lifetime, never be separated for even a second from the pure path that is greatly praised by the concluded Buddha, and actualize the complete path, the 3 principal aspects of path, and the 2 stages of highest yoga tantra. The root of which is the Guru devotion within our minds as quickly as possible. Just as the brave Manjushri and some other realize things as they are, I dedicate all these virtues in the best way that I may follow after them. Whatever dedication, the 3 times the victorious one gone to the bliss I admire as the best, in the same way, I also perfectly dedicate all these root of virtues so that I may perform good work. Okay, so I guess that is I guess today we kind of, so I can take a couple of questions if there is any questions or any comments, questions, whether from this morning or from today afternoon. Most welcome. If there is.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
When when you mentioned about the purification in relation to the same object, so if it's related to the three jewels, is it typically if we break a vow? What would be the example of commit negative karma in relation to the three jewels?
Well, being disrespectful to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, despising Gurus, Buddha, Dharma, Sanghas, criticizing Buddha, Dharma, Sanghas, or anything that represent the Buddha, Dharma, Sanghas, for example, the holy objects such as the statues, stupas, they represent Buddha and Buddha's holy mind, and being disrespectful or despising or criticizing them and all of that, not being, also in terms of the Dharma, there's kind of being disrespect to our scriptural dharmas, as well as robe of the sanghas that represent the sanghas, criticizing them, using the sanghas resource, that belong to Sangha. We use resource without permissions like that, or dividing among the Sanghas, creating divisions among Sanghas, and kind of, like holy objects, sometimes people disrespectfully doing a lot of different things and damaging, whether it's Dharma, whether it's a stupa, whether it's a holy object that represent all of them, damaging, destroying, all of that. So those are some of the example of creating negative karma in relation to the holy objects such as Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Yeah. Any others?
Anyone else?
Then if there is no, then we do the final dedications.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Can you reach enlightenment without Buddhism?
Oh, that is interesting questions. Definitely someone can, what is Buddhism? Buddhism, or what is Buddhist, example, someone, if they can, whether they call themselves Buddhism or Buddhist or not, whether they are following so-called Buddhism or not, but if they can cultivate the wisdom realizing the ultimate truth and bodhicitta mind, and together with that wisdom and the method, and then they can make a progress on the path, then definitely one can achieve enlightenment, whether they call themselves a Buddhist or non-Buddhist, whatever they call themselves, it doesn't matter. If you can cultivate the wisdom realizing the ultimate truth and the bodhicitta mind. The bodhicitta is highest level of altruistic mind. So that method and wisdom, if you can cultivate that, then it doesn't matter whether you call yourself Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, Islam, non-believer, it doesn't matter. So it is all about cultivating the right conditions, right cause, and that is the right cause, regardless of whatever external, label that we might give. Yes.
Okay. And do you think eventually enlightenment will get boring, like having so much happiness and like knowing everything?
I think, it might be boring. We want to have excitement, isn't it? Up and down, up and down. No, it can't be boring at all. It can't be boring at all. because there's so much peace and joyfulness. There's so much joyfulness. In our cases, sometimes things are same. We get boring because we don't have that kind of joyfulness in that moment. In that, you don't have the joyfulness in what you are doing because you are doing same. It's not inspiring. It's not kind of exciting. It's no joyfulness. So that is why we get bored when we do the same thing all the time. But when you have that kind of, inspiration, that kind of joyfulness, peacefulness from the depth, absolutely there's no boring. For a second, for a minute, for a second, is greatest level of happiness. The happiness that one experience at the level of Buddha, we cannot describe any kind of happiness that we experience in this life. There's not even 1% of the joy and happiness that in life the Buddha experienced cannot be described. All the highest level of happiness that we enjoy food together, you cannot even describe that. So, yeah. Right. So you don't have to be worried about being a bore. Okay. You will be so much inspiration, so much happiness. Okay. Don't worry about that. Reaching that will be the challenge.
Yeah, that's the fun part of it, I guess. Reaching. Yeah. And yeah. Do you think if you go into your next life into a better place, it will be much easier to just keep like climbing and climbing? Because I know if you go down, it'll be difficult to go back up. But once you start build that momentum, do you think it'll be faster or?
Definitely, generally speaking, when we practice, then we put imprint in our mind. And when you have strong imprint, it becomes more easier and easier. Definitely, that is the case. But sometimes, if we don't continue to practice, if we stop practicing in the middle, then again, there is a danger that we can go back. You can reach certain point where you cannot go back. Once you reach certain point, there is no coming back. But until you reach that point, there is a possible or coming back. And so, for example, in terms of the path of the Bodhisattvas, they talk about 5 paths, 10 bhumis. And the first path, the path of preparations, path of accumulations. Even after you reach the first stages of path of accumulation, still you can fall down. There is a possibility if you don't continue to work on that. But once you reach beyond the first stages of path of accumulation, then there's no more coming back from there. It's only going up. It's only, you might be in one stage for a long time before you are able to go up, but there's no coming back. There's no falling back. But until then, there is a possibility of falling back in general. But also in general, when you have study, practice, meditated over the time, you have more familiarity with that, you have more imprint in your mind. So in the future, it becomes much more easier to understand, to meditate, to contemplate. And so we go up and up. Yeah. Okay.
Eve has her hand up.
Thank you, Geshela. I have a question about a comment you made briefly, talking about at the moment of sneezing. And I think this has to do with clear light at that moment. Can you explain a little bit more? Is there a practice about this?
Well, I don't think I explained that, but definitely there is some, in tantric, high yoga tantras, we talk about clear light mind. That is the most subtle mind. And in most of us, we don't have access to that clear light mind. Unless for a high level of practitioner who can, through their training on, opening of the channel through, wind energy and drop energy, and through that, then they can they can open the central channel and they could have access there, and then they can use that. But in general, for ordinary beings, when we die, then naturally we experience after the death or at the end of the death, you know, before taking an intermediate stage form, then we go through this clear light mind. And again, even though we go through that, most of the time we are not even aware of that, and we cannot use it. We don't have access to that. We go just through the motions, but we are not even aware, and we are not able to utilize it. But some of the practitioners, they train now so that they can use that at that time in your practice and in the meditations. And in that clear light mind is, you know, without any kind of distractions, because distraction is a part of the gross mind, and all the gross mind has ceased, you know, and even the subtle mind, that is more subtle mind. And so because there is no distractions, and even the nature of the mind is such, you know, that there's everything's like empty, so it is easy to have a realization emptiness directly, or have emptiness. So that is what practitioners try to utilize that. And then they say, you know, there is that is what we experience really at the dead time, at the death. But also, you know, there are certain times that we can experience a moment of that, you know, similar when you're sneezing, when you are fainting, you know, when someone faint, you know, or when someone has engaged in certain other embracings, you know, and also in the deep dreams or meditations, dream stages. So there are certain stages where not exactly same level at the time of death, but a little bit of similarity of that kind of experience can be experienced on those stages. So that is okay.
I just wanted to let everyone know we have 2 sessions tomorrow. First is a teaching session on refuge, and then the afternoon session is refuge ceremony. So you can attend the teaching if you don't want to take refuge. You can take just the morning session.
Okay, so then we'll do the final dedications. Due to the merits of this virtuous action, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhidharma that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Jigden kang de pen de ma lu, ba kang le chung e sang be ye shi no, ka jin chung men ten jing jia zo, la so wa de so tu je lun du shou. Tu zu xiang xin jiang gen jia wei, ten jing jiang bei wei gun so to bo zi, qiu song ku wei le mo tu du, ba da so du je gun du xiao pen. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. And I hope that your time was not wasted. At least maybe you had, you had a good intention in the morning. So then maybe that should be okay.
Thank you, Guru.
Thank you.
Geshe Sherab.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshela.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.